It's our turn, episode number 102, A Seat at the Table. In this episode, Kathleen Mercury and I talk about the games we've played recently, including Reykholt, One Deck Dungeon, Keyper, and Wingspan. Jesse Metcalf and Jordan Marshall talk about what it means to be a game master. And I interview Sara Perry about her new board gaming online magazine, A Seat at the Table.
This is the Dice Tower Network, adding games to your wish list since 2005.
Hosting for this episode is generously provided by our fantastic supporters on Patreon.com. If you'd like to help us out by pledging $1 per month or more, please visit patreon.com/OurTurnPodcast. Every dollar helps us to keep this show going strong. Hi, and welcome back to Our Turn. I'm Cathy Ford.
And I am the other Cathy, Kathleen Mercury.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Cathy. How are you?
I'm doing great. So it's been a couple months since you've been on.
Really?
It has.
Wow, that's bananas. I'm glad to be here, though. It's always fun talking with you.
Yeah, I'm always delighted to have you on.
Thanks.
And we usually start by talking about what we've been playing lately. So what have you gotten to the table? You were mentioning you played a bunch.
I did. One of my great friends, Mike P., and he's Polish, so he's Mike P. I don't know how to say it. I'd never try. Mike came in town for business, and he is one of our great gaming friends. He is always fun. The harder the game, the better. Loves Stefan Feld, loves Uwe Rosenberg. And so it was a really good opportunity all Friday night and then pretty much all day Saturday to get some heavy stuff to the table. Coincidentally, my darling boyfriend Mark got me for Valentine's Day a copy of Reykholt, Uwe Rosenberg's game about vegetable farming in Iceland. He got that as a gift for me because we are going to Iceland in a few weeks, which is bananas, or I guess carrots, because we're farming vegetables. And so we were able to play Reykholt from Uwe Rosenberg. And actually, I'm going to partner that with another game that's worth talking about is Gates of Loyang, because Reykholt basically is the updated, streamlined version of Gates of Loyang.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gates of Loyang is my friend Frank's favorite game of all time.
Huh. Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, Le Havre was my first, Uwe Rosenberg, Euro kind of experience back in the day when I first got into gaming. It's still my favorite, probably because I just, imprinted hard on it. Fun memories of that game. And so when Gates of Loyang came out, it was very, very different than what I was sort of expecting. There's a lot more cards that get passed around with text that's on them that they can be very different. So, getting the right cards at the right time, plus also understanding the various components of the game, the different economies of the game when you want to have, so basically in Gates of Loyang, everyone is operating their own vegetable market, basically. And you are trying to procure vegetables by growing them in fields. You are able to buy more at the market for seeds. You are able to sell them to everyone from a permanent customer who's always happy, or at least 4 times as happy to buy your vegetables, to more temporary ones who are one time only, but they can give you some pretty hefty bonuses depending on how well you're doing with the others. And so it's really interesting as far as managing your vegetables, especially since you have to do some planning that takes, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 turns or so to execute. And I'm not necessarily the best at those kinds of games, or certainly it's been a while. I remember when I first played Gates of Loyang years ago, I was really disappointed by it because I so like Le Havre and it's so different. I didn't know how to wrap my head around it, so I guess back then I decided that I didn't like it. And so when we got a chance to play Reykholt and played it with our friend Mike, and he's like, this is Gates of Loyang, because it was the first time any of us had played it. And it's actually a much more streamlined version. I'll be interested to hear what your friend thinks about Reykholt, because in Gates of Loyang, there's various helper cards that come along that give you different benefits. Well, they switch that in Reykholt to making it more worker placement. So you get to take the actions, in a shared board of all these different places. You've got your little Icelandic farmers you get to send out. And so there's certain aspects of it that I really liked, because if you didn't have any cards that were especially helpful to you, or if you had really helpful cards, that could make games like that kind of swingy. And so by shifting it to a worker placement idea, it kind of balanced that out amongst players. The other thing is that it's got this method to determine points. It's basically you have to provide certain types of vegetables at different times and in certain quantities. And if you're able to produce them, then you get to move up on the point scoring track. And it's just one of those things where I know, like in Euro games, just sometimes you're just don't try to make it make thematic sense in your head, just go with it. This is how you do the points. This is how you do the scoring. But, it's like, well, I'm just enough of a goober to basically rolling my eyes about the nonsense of this track. Well, okay, so I can't produce it, but I get to take the vegetables, even though I couldn't produce them, and I stopped, just like some of those things are a little bit wonky for me, but I very much enjoyed it. And I have to say that after playing Reykholt, to play Gates of Loyang certainly made a lot more sense, but I would say that Reykholt is definitely the streamlined version of that game, of Loyang.
And what rating would you give each of those games?
So I would play it again. So I would definitely say for Reykholt, I would give it a 4. For Gates of Loyang, I would probably give that one a 3. We have both of those, so the purchase part is not really there. But I think because Reykholt doesn't have all of the text and the passing of cards and the way that you can play your cards and take your actions, Reykholt is much more streamlined as a result. So I would say out of the two, Reykholt.
Okay, and Frank, you heard her. She wants to have a review from you of Reykholt, so you need to get on that, okay?
Yeah, bring it, Frank. It was fun during the game looking up various phrases, most of which were inappropriate, of course. Looking up various phrases in Icelandic and having Google Translate say something. People would look, and then I would show my phone with what I typed in. I don't know how accurate it was, but it was funny to me because I am a toddler.
How funny. All right.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
I'm working on getting games off my unplayed game shelf. And so one day I asked Mark, I said, let's play a game. And he goes, all right, which one? And I said, let's make it easy. One Deck Dungeon, which we had never played before. And he's like, yeah, I could do that. And so we sat down, read through the rules, got back up and went and watched a watch it played video because things were just not quite jiving right.
Right.
It wasn't actually watch it played. It was somebody else. I don't remember who, but basically watched how to play it. And then we sat down and we played through twice and absolutely loved it.
Really?
And I have even taken to playing it solo. So I sit down at work and on my lunch hour and I just deal out and start playing it, and because it has a solo mode. The art is great. Have you heard about or played One Deck Dungeon?
I haven't. I've seen it, but I don't know much about it.
It is basically a dungeon dive kind of game, Dungeons and Dragons type, where you're going through the dungeon fighting monsters. All of the characters depicted on the cards are female. Okay,
so the crazy thing is, now that you say that, I actually have that game and the expansion and the playmat, because at Gen Con, someone told me that it had all female characters, and I said, shut up and take my money. And it's currently sitting on my shelves, so I am glad. That's hilarious. When you said you're getting rid of your game shelf, I'm like, I've got like 200 games in boxes in my living room that I'm just dying for somebody to take off my hands. So no, that's awesome, because I have that game, and I would now I'm glad that you are confirming that it was a good purchase.
You should play it. It's a fantastic game. It plays great 2-player. You can either play it 1-player, 2-player, or 4-player. Mm-hmm. I don't know why you can't play it 3-player, but that's what the rules say. When you conquer a monster, you get to choose one of 3 things. You can either add to either your charisma, your strength, or your magic, whichever one. It usually only offers one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can add to your experience points, so you get closer to leveling up. Or you can take an item. And the way that you just decide is they're on different parts of the card.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, how you line it up under your player is what determines what you take.
Okay.
So if you put it off to the left of the card, you're taking either the strength, the agility, or the magic. If you put it so that it sticks out under the bottom of your card, you're taking the item. So it could be a magic item. It could be an ability to do something or a skill. Or if you take the experience points, you're putting it under the level cards. And each level takes so many experience points to move up to the next level. So, and you decide collectively, because it's a cooperative game, what are you going to do with this victory? And only one person can take the upgrade in skills or items. Only one person can take the upgrade in skills or items, but the whole group gets the experience points. So it just depends on what you want to do. When you're going to go open a dungeon door, you have to spend time, and you do that by turning over 2 of the cards from the deck. And then you open one of the dungeon doors, which also came from the deck. On your turn, you can either put out more doors or you can open a door. Either way, you have to spend 2 cards before you can do either of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you open a door, there's a monster behind it, and you have to defeat the monster. And you don't have to kill the monster, you just have to survive the monster in order to get the reward. So as long as nobody died during the fight, then you get the reward. And then you move on to the next one and you spend some time. There are also times where you're going to be trying to do something. You're going to rush the monster, or you're going to try and sneak past him. Either one or the other may take time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you're going to pick the lock or smash the door. Well, picking the lock's going to take longer. So you turn over 2 or 3 cards, and it tells you how much time you have to spend. When you get to the bottom of the dungeon, there's a stairway leading down. So you're going deeper into the dungeon. And when you get to the bottom, you just reshuffle the deck and put it on top of the stairwell, and you start again. Oh, I think the boss monster determines how many times you have to go through.
Does it give you the feel, though, of a good dungeon crawl kind of game?
It does. It does. And the monsters are great. They're really well drawn. They're really varied. You do come across multiple of, one type. So multiple goblins, for example. The goblin looks psychotic. There are phantasms. In my last game, my character got killed by a phantasm. And then there are traps and...
Oh my gosh. My students would love this.
There's a swinging spiked log that you can either bash or dive under.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dice rolling game, so you're rolling dice, and the different colors of dice stand for strength, agility, or magic, and you can only roll as many of those dice as you have those symbols on your character. So if like a warrior will have 4 strength, 1 agility, and maybe 1 magic, maybe. And then an archer will have 2 or 3 agility, but very little strength. And might have a magic.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you can add to those things, which means you're taking more dice. And then to defeat the monsters, you have to take the dice and you have to match the numbers that are on the monster. So there might be an 8 in agility. These are 6-sided dice, so you're going to have to put 2 dice down from your agility. And it might take, 5 strength, so that could be 2 dice or it could be 1. It just depends on how the square is configured. Is it a rectangle, which can take more than one die, or is it a square where you can only place one die? Anyway, it is a fun game. It's well put together. It is, it plays in about half an hour, 45 minutes.
Okay.
And like I said, we played through it once, and then we played through it again and had a great time with it. And then I've played it once solo, and looking forward to doing it some more. Cool.
Well, It's good incentive then for me to get that one off, because especially, for my students, and my classes are about 50-50 male-female. So when we talk about like the demographics of gamers, multicultural, all genders, because I have students who are non-gender conforming. And so I love that they just made the choice to make all the characters female. It reminds me of, Ruth.
And they're different ethnicities too.
Yeah. Because it reminds me of Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she was asked, someone said, well, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? And her answer was, when there are 9. Like, we don't have a problem with 9 men. Why should we have a problem with 9 women? And especially,
exactly.
Yeah. So just, those people don't realize how much representation matters. If you're thinking to yourself, oh no, only 1 or 2 women is fine in my party of all kind of guys. Maybe you should ask yourself, why do you need that? And that is a discussion for another day. But yeah, it's cool to see they did that.
There was one review on Amazon that I heard about. I'm sure there are probably others saying similar things, but it was a mother saying she wouldn't buy this for her sons because there were no boys in it. And the responses that she got a lot was, okay, how many games are there where there are no women at all?
Right.
And if a girl wants to play, she's got to play a guy. And why is that okay? And it's not okay for a boy to play this. The women are practically dressed. So no chainmail bikinis, which I loved. They look like the part. The warrior looks like a warrior. The paladin is chin to feet in armor, carrying a shield and a sword. And she, if I remember correctly, she is very dark-skinned.
Well, and I have it for my board game club. I've got this hardcore group of guys who come, and have girls too. Like at lunch, I've got like 25, 30 kids in my classroom eating lunch. It's hilarious. They have to like hold up their napkin as they come in because they know they're not allowed to touch my games with their dirty, disgusting hands. It's a big deal, this napkin rule. Some kids go to the bathroom and will just take all kinds of paper towels and they like distribute them out. It's actually very cute. So they do a lot more lighter social games because it's fast. But after school, I've got hardcore gamers who come, and especially they love dungeon crawl games. So I'm going to make a concerted effort to try to learn this game for next time because I'd like to learn this one myself now.
Yeah, this one is easy to teach. It's easy to play. I know I wasn't doing a very good job of explaining it, but
do you have the playmat?
No, I don't.
See, because that's one thing is when I was buying them, people said if you're going to buy them, get the playmat because it really helps to like organize everything so you can see where everything goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll look for it. Yeah. I'll look for it because that would be useful. But yeah, I think your kids would love it. And Mark had no problem at all with playing a female character. Of course, he's never had a problem with playing female characters. He enjoys playing Monarch as well, which is another game that's everybody's playing a princess. And, at first I was like, ugh, are my friends going to have a problem? And none of my friends had a problem with it. In fact, they dove into the roles. The guys dove into the role of being a princess.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mark was the same way with this one. He played the paladin, and then I think he played the warrior after that. And I played the archer both times and just really enjoyed it. And then the time I played it solo, I played the warrior. And unfortunately, she got squashed. But yeah, that was just because I used the healing potion too early in the game. I should have saved it for later. Anyway.
You know what, though? I never want to die in a game holding something that could have helped me. So using something early sometimes is often the best idea because it goes against what you think you should do. So.
Yeah. So anyway, that's One Deck Dungeon. I give it a 4. It'll probably go up to a 4.5 for me. I really enjoy it.
Would you buy the 25? I don't know how much the playmat is, but if you like it so much, is it worth buying a $25 playmat if it makes playing the game even better for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I think maybe you are 4.5.
Yeah, probably.
Cool.
So, yeah, I need to play it some more, and that's why I've started playing it solo.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's One Deck Dungeon. What else have you been playing?
Cool. Well, we had our Festival of Games weekend, so in addition to Reykholt and Gates of Loyang, I also... Well, here's what I can talk about. I can either talk about a game I really did not like, or I can talk about old favorites that I played, like, no problem. What do you want?
Why don't you do one you didn't like?
All right. I knew you were going to pick that. So I played Keyflower many, many years ago, so much so I don't remember at all what it was, only that I know I played it, years ago. And when my friend Mike came into town, he really was excited about playing Keyper, which is in the same series. And in Keyper, you are developing a town by placing tiles on an area of your little personal playing mat. You are putting in fences of animals. You're getting different types of animals, livestock, etc., putting them either in shelters or in paddocks or whatever. You have the ability to do some shipping. You have these fairs that you have to basically satisfy the needs for these fairs. And the kind of gimmick thing with the game is one 4x4 grid thing that has all these different action spaces. It's a worker placement game. And you place your dude on one of those spaces. But these boards are actually kind of interesting because they're modular, like physically modular. Like you can flop the different sides around and create actual different configurations of how they look. You just have to make sure the symbol for the current season is showing. So, I mean, the design behind this to make this as balanced as it is, plus, for what can appear in the various configurations in the spring and the summer and the fall, in the winter that's pretty impressive to me, like the work that probably went into that. Mm-hmm. The only thing that, why I didn't like it is, one, I didn't really think that setting up those boards even with that cool floppy little gimmick, I did not really think it was a meaningful decision, especially if three of us are doing it at once. You don't have any opportunity to modify them during the game. Oh. And so just having the ability to kind of flop these things around, if you were really hardcore into this, and I wasn't, so maybe that's my fault here. If you're really hardcore into this, maybe you would look at, okay, these are the things I know I want to do, so I want to make sure these are shown. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe. But I just didn't think it was meaningful. You start off with something like 10 different workers. And then, so you place them out, they're color coded. Depending, they give you different benefits at certain places. The first person after you can follow you, so they can take the same benefit, and they can also basically each get a bonus if somebody follows you. And again, that's happened in other games. I didn't think that was so novel or different when my friend was kind of excited about that. And I've seen that. I mean, that doesn't mean that's bad. It's just, I didn't necessarily see it as particularly novel. It's a much better game than I will ever design, so don't worry about that, kittens. I mean, definitely, for sure. And then you buy tiles, and it's the kind of thing where you have to buy the ability to build them, and then you can actually build them on your board. And I just thought it was so boring. I mean, I just thought it was really dry, really long. I don't have a problem with a longer game. I don't have a problem with a drier game. One of my biggest gripe about it, I guess, was I really had no idea of how I was doing in relationship to other players. Yeah. There was no kind of scoring method at all to give you any indication of what was happening. And I figured I wasn't losing because of how I was kind of just throwing people around and this and that. And then in the end, I didn't do too bad. I was certainly closer to Mike than to my darling Mark, who was in last place. But it was really hard to find it interesting to me. Okay. It was just a really dry game about it. It has great meeples, great little animal meeples. And I had a lot of fun creating little animal upon animal stacks of those while the game was going. So if you want to consider me the worst gamer ever, probably. So especially in a game like Keyper, I just had a hard time like feeling like I could really get into it in any way, shape, or form. Especially, I don't mind a puzzle game. I don't mind a dry game. I love resourcey kind of games. The thing with this one was you had no idea how you were doing in relationship to any other player until the end of the board. And if you're super cool with that, you don't really care, you're fighting against yourself and you like multiplayer solitaire games, then awesome. Keyper is for you. But for me, I really, really understand and I appreciate all the work that goes into it, but I thought it was pretty dry.
And what would you rate it?
Well, what's a 3? What do we say 3s are?
A 3 is a good game with some bugs.
I'll give it it's a solid game. It's really good for people who like it. It's just a mismatch,
It's just not for you.
In terms of not for me. So, definitely, it probably is, for me, it's probably a 3 to, I won't ever probably play it again. But that said is for many a person out there for very good reasons, they probably would rate it the same or higher, which is totally fine. And I understand that completely. Sure. I just thought it was so boring.
Hey, not so incredible. All games aren't for all players.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
But I'm also trying to branch out more, and that's the one reason why I'm kind of frustrated with myself, because I need to, a lot of the games that I play are games that you can learn or play, or at least play in about 45 minutes, because that's how long my class periods are. I'm always on the lookout for games for my students, and this is one that definitely would not be a fit for them, and so sometimes when I have the opportunity to play longer games, I don't, because I want to play shorter game stuff I can introduce to them. And so I was glad to have the opportunity to play some bigger games to really dig in and enjoy them. But it was just one where it just wasn't for me.
Okay. And that's Keyper. Have you played any of the other Key games?
I played Keyflower years ago, and I don't remember
I haven't played any of them. And it's not because I don't want to. I don't know anybody that owns them, I don't think. So
I live in St. Louis, home of Miniature Market, and they have a really big gaming space, and Geekway to the West Game Convention, they hold their library there. So I have access to tons of games and a really good gaming space.
Nice.
So if you're a gamer and you're adrift in your life and you can't think about, maybe you're looking for a change of scenery, come to St. Louis. I swear to you, we have amazing gaming here.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. The last game I'm going to talk about today is actually one that you talked about last time you were on the show, and that's Wingspan.
Oh, cool.
So Sarah Reed and Will got Wingspan, and they invited Mark and I over to play games, and I got there. Mark unfortunately was sick that day. But I got there and I said, "Can we play Wingspan? Please, please, please." And we sat right down and played it, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought I would. The only problem that I had with it was that it ended too fast. I thought it went too quickly. I wanted to play another round or two.
Yeah, and I find that in a lot of engine building games, it's kind of a delicate dance between wearing out its welcome versus you building something and then wanting to see it in operation. So, above and below. For me, the times I've played that, I almost felt like, wait, what? Did we misunderstand the rules? Like, you would just kind of build out your stuff where you're like, okay, cool, now I'm doing all this stuff. And then, the game would really be over right then and there when I was talking with somebody else about above and below. I said, yeah, when you play it, and if you feel like you want to play a round or two after it says you're supposed to end, do it. Who cares? Run that engine.
Yeah. I think part of the problem that I have in judging a game like Wingspan, and I absolutely give this a 4.5. If I play it again, it will probably go up to a 5. I absolutely do want to add this to my collection, but I think the problem that I have in judging a game like Wingspan or Oaxaca, which I love both of them, so I'm not criticizing them, but it's that I'm used to playing games like Outpost and Terraforming Mars as engine builders, and those are really, really long games. I mean, 2 to 4 hours at least.
Yeah. Have you ever played Outpost with 9 people?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's super fun.
Yeah, it is. But it takes 4 or 5 hours to do.
Yeah.
And so then when I play, when someone says, oh, this is an engine builder, I'm thinking, okay, 2 hours easy. And it's over in 45 minutes. I'm going, wait a minute. Where's the rest of the game?
Right.
So I think that's just my experience speaking there. But I thoroughly enjoyed the game. The art is beautiful. You're playing these birds onto these different habitats. Each habitat has its own powers. And some of the birds can move between habitats. You're playing for goals each round. In the game that we played, at least 2 or 3 of the rounds, we were trying for different types of nests, birds with different types of nests. One was the type of bird that builds their nest in a hollow in a tree. Another one was a bowl-shaped nest, and then the other one was a nest on the ground. And I don't remember what the other goal was. But
I have a question about goals. Did you use the scoring side that gave you points for what you completed? Like if you had 3 of one type of bird, you just got 3 points? Or did you play the side that gave you points relative to your position against the other players?
We played the nice side.
And I've played the game, I think, 4 or 5 times. That's definitely my preferred side. I'll let you keep talking about why you like the game. If you want to know more about my thoughts, continue.
Well, Sara has said many times on this show that she is definitely a Care Bear. And so when she said, this is the side we like, and then there's this side, I went, this is their game. We're going to play on the side that they like to play on. That's fine. I'm good with it. So yeah, we played on the game where you just flat get points based on how many of each item you have. And then, but I can see where Mark and I would play the other way.
Yeah. I guess the sort of almost like a mismatch for me in some ways, because I played both and I understand, where basically if you get points, like in the first rounds, the points are so small, like a point or 2, but especially in the 4th round, if it's whoever has the most birds in a certain type of nest, that if you're in first place, you get 7 points. And then if you're next, you get 4, and then it goes from there. It's actually a pretty big point swing in that game based on that. And considering that you have secret goal cards that might incentivize you, either to basically invest in the same type of birds that are on those scorecards or against it. Like you could actually be preloaded or develop, an engine along the way that's a mismatch for that kind of scoring and the point value. And if it's just credit for what you get, then you have a lot more control over that. But especially if it comes to other people, it just seems to be kind of a mismatch to me personally, because you spend so much time focusing on your board. And there are times where somebody might, put a bird in where, when a certain event happens, everybody gets a type of, food from the supply, or, those kinds of actions that impact others, or you might have some just singular kind of actions that could impact others. But generally speaking, you're kind of doing your own thing. So for me, that side of the board was more frustrating than added to the fun of it. But that said, I mean, I've played it, I think 3 times with it, and it doesn't ruin the game or anything like that. Like I very much enjoy the game, but to me that was just kind of a little kind of moment. Like not sure how I totally like or dislike that. I just think for me it's a little too swingy to compare to the meaningfulness of the decisions you can make to get yourself there. Perhaps.
So this is definitely a game that I want to add to my collection. Like I said, it's beautiful. The components are absolutely solid. And I had a great time playing it. I think Mark's going to have a great time playing it when he gets to play it. And it is a light engine builder. So I think this is something that I could teach like my mom how to play, and she's never played an engine builder before.
I probably like it more in some ways than Terraforming Mars, which I've played a ton. Just because with Wingspan, you don't have the drafting aspect, and you also have, there's actually not that many type of birds. So if you're looking for specific types of nests, specific types of terrain, specific types of, special actions that you can activate, there's 140 birds in the deck, but now there's really not that many different types. So you can build a better engine than I think you can in Terraforming Mars, especially once you start throwing in all kinds of expansions and the deck just gets to be so bloated, in my opinion.
Well, I can see where the deck in this is going to get bloated if they start adding birds from other parts of the world.
I mean, I have lobbied hard to have a bird based on myself thrown in the game, so...
I remember you said that.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I do like seeing my name in print because I have an ego. The size of a vulture or a condor. No, and when I'm being critical too, and I think these are just like points of consideration. I mean, It's a really impressive game, and it is fun to play. Just those are those kind of moments that, I mean, part of me when I play games is, I was playing a game one time and one of my friends, he's like, Kathleen, turn your game designer brain off. Because I'm like trying to like look under the engine, like in the middle of the game. And why do they do this and this and this? And he's like, just play the game. Sometimes I can get a little annoying.
You? No.
Let's be real.
No, never happened.
You better sound way more in disagreement with that. I'm kidding. It's true.
All right. So that's Wingspan. I give it a 4.5 on our scale. And I really enjoyed it. So that's what we've been playing. We have set up and been referring to and rating games by our own rating scale. Here's how we are using this scale. 5. Buy this now. 4. A good solid game. 3. Decent with some bugs. 2. Has great potential as kindling. And 1. Give me back the time I spent playing it.
Hello again, this is Jesse Metcalf, and I have the pleasure and privilege of being joined today by our new RPG contributor, Jordan Marshall. Jordan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me. I am a DM. I play 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, and we stream on Twitch, and you can find us at Chaos Conductors on Twitter. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I've been so looking forward to talking with another person, because I always feel like I'm just shouting into a room every time I do one of these. So
I get that.
Yeah. Today, we kind of have a long list of topics that we've collaborated. Today, we're going to briefly touch on what it actually means to be a dungeon master, game master, storyteller, etc. The person who basically runs the game. So we kind of broke it up in some parts.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite topics to discuss.
Yeah, and it's weird because people look at it like it's some magical unicorn, and it's like, yeah, but it's also very simple to describe. So
yeah,
I think probably the biggest thing, since we're talking about a role-playing game, is to be the narrator, to be the overall storyteller of what's going on in the world. Do you agree with that assessment?
I would definitely say that. Yeah, you as a dungeon master, game master, storyteller, narrator, you are what the players are coming for. You are describing the environment and everything that the players are seeing. So it's pretty much all dependent on how you describe that. Like you have to paint that picture.
Absolutely. And the thing that makes this a game rather than just collaborative storytelling are the dice and the rules, but the narrator is still like one of the major functions. The story is what brings it together. So, yeah. And the cool part is you're not alone in this story. Back in my day, there was only the Dungeon Master, and they did all the things. I'm going to get grognardy from time to time.
Do it.
So, you know...
I support it.
Yeah, back when D&D came only in boxes with colorful covers, it was basically the DM runs the story and the players smash the dungeon and everyone has a good time. But now, the evolution of RPGs is you can get more into collaborative storytelling, so the narrator isn't alone in this story. You have lots of input, hopefully, from people around the table, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I definitely use that in my storytelling. I think that, you have these people around the table that come every week to enjoy the game. They need some investment. And the easiest way to do that is by giving them some power in terms of building that story.
Absolutely. And for anyone thinking about giving DMing a try, that may sound scary. We'll get into... In future episodes, we'll probably talk more in depth about that.
How you can do it safely.
Yeah. But aside from being the narrator, since this is a game, they are also the referee, basically the overall arbiter of actions. So they describe if you're successful or what the difficulty is or however it is mechanically. They're the ones who are basically deciding success or failure, as well as other rules judgments.
And for that dungeon master or person needs to have a very good understanding of the rules of the system that they're playing if they're going to be the referee on it. And at the end of the day, if there is a disagreement or something, it's going to come down to that referee type person to make a judgment call on, here's what's happening.
Absolutely. And like I've said in past episodes, you don't have to be a PhD in the rules to be a referee.
Yeah, you do not.
You should know where to find most things, and if you can't come up with it, make a ruling on the fly and go back and discuss it after the game session when you have time. That kind of gets into more improv type stuff, which being improvisational is a key both in the narration and the refereeing, I guess.
I feel like that is the top skill that this person needs to have, is being able to think on your feet.
If your local community college or library offers improv courses, it wouldn't hurt to go take one to learn how to be a better improv person, because there's a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a game here that has, maybe 4 players on average at a table, 4 players, 5 players, and they can do whatever they want. It is infinite choice. So in that kind of setting, you cannot plan for everything. So you have to have some improv skills.
Absolutely. And just like there are new DMs, there are also new players or players who are learning a new system. So one of the other keys, I think, to being a good DM is being an assistant, helping them out, especially new players who are unfamiliar with role-playing games in general or the system, is sometimes reminding them of what it is their character can do. And my other thought on that is players often play characters that are not themselves. Hopefully, you stretch the boundaries. So, for example, you're not as strong as your barbarian, but you might not also be as smart as your wizard. And I've been in spots where I'm playing a character who is smarter than me. So, as a GM, you need to look at their stats and be their assistants. Your character would know the following things based on your skills, your intelligence, or heaven forbid, if you're a bard but you yourself are not an outgoing extrovert, first of all, what are you doing? But in case that happens, the GM could also be the assistant to help you kind of describe the action. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I would say there have definitely been situations in games that I've run where a character might not have thought about it like the player didn't. But as that GM, I have to say, okay, based on this character's in-game knowledge, would they actually know it? Would they be able to figure out this thing? And oftentimes, if you have someone that is really smart, yeah, you make a ruling or something in favor of the player and keep it going. I definitely agree. But cool. I do have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
So, in terms of being the referee, how important would you say it is to gain the trust of your players?
Wow. Trust is very important, especially in a collaboration such as this. They have to believe that you're doing the right thing. They have to realize that you're not the antagonist. You're just the narrator and referee of this thing. So, I try to keep most of what I'm doing open knowledge. There are times when secret die rolls are needed, and I try not to undermine their actions by co-opting things such as I don't know, saying that no, that's not what you actually do. So yeah, gaining their trust is very important.
Your character doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely agree, especially if you're like trying to be the referee. When you make that judgment call, if they trust you, they know that you're not doing it to hurt them intentionally. It's just, here's the call that you're making, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I think most people who've been around long enough will eventually have that one horror story with the GM and their significant other as a player, and how much favoritism gets leaned on there. I hope all of you out there never have that horror story, but know that it's a thing, so be aware. Then again, I've played with couples who are very cool, and the GM's always impartial no matter who it is. So yeah, that's another trust issue.
Jesse, I have to say that I am one of those situations.
Uh-oh. You have a significant other playing in your game?
Correct.
Oh. So
yeah,
word of warning.
I definitely keep that at the forefront of my mind. And once we hit that table, you are the same as everyone else. And even in how I handle rulings that I might have given to her as opposed to someone else, like as long as it is consistent. But yeah. I would also warn against like overcompensating. So maybe you have like a loved one, or your partner is in that game with you. You don't want to seem like you're giving them too many benefits, so you overcompensate and you're like harder on them for no reason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have a degree in psychology, and the whole bias spiel is just flying through my head. It's like it's so easy to like safeguard against bias to the point where now you've gone the opposite way, and yeah. Oh. So that's those are things I definitely think every DM or storyteller is. There's usually a couple that they usually become, not because it comes with the job directly, but indirectly. One is usually the organizer of the game. I find whoever's running the game also tends to be the one who takes charge of scheduling or location or some other facet of the game that basically gets the people together. Has that been your perception or experience?
Oh, definitely. I think in order to DM, the kind of person that DMs is someone who's going to put a lot of time and effort into it, sometimes more than others. So they're also going to be the one that is actively trying to get everyone together. And usually it's dependent on what the DM can do as far as what schedules they can make, because there isn't a game without them.
Yeah, and as you get older and you're dealing with people who suddenly become married with children, that organizational skill becomes like critical, trying to find the one evening or the one weekend that works for everybody.
You speak as if you have some experience with that.
far too much.
No.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's life, and that's kind of also a key that everyone needs to keep in mind, that this is a game and life gets in the way. So, yeah. The other role I find is moderator, and because this is an interpersonal interaction, multiple people coming together, there's inevitably going to be conflict. And usually people look at you, the GM, as the person who needs to moderate this conflict because it's your table or your game.
Yep. You really have to have a good grasp on the personalities at your table and make sure that they're all getting along, because everyone's just there to have fun. So yeah, when those moments break out, they're definitely going to be looking at you like, who is right here? And in that case, you really have to think about it and go back to being that impartial referee and making the best decision for the group. Would you say?
Yeah. Unless things are so blatantly one-sided, and I've been there as well, where it's like, no, you are clearly the disruptive one.
Oh, yeah.
And I always have to end up sending the Dear John emails or things saying, you're not working out. So the other players have tasked me with telling you that please don't come to any more games. I've had to do that at least twice. And yeah.
I will say, in the current campaign that I'm playing, because we played like a year and a half before we started streaming it, one of our players, who is now gone, he definitely caused a lot of issues as far as like he was, one of those players who didn't care about like talking over someone or overpowering them. And yeah, no amount of talks ever really fixed it. So then it was up to me to say like, hey, it's not working out.
Yeah. And I hate interpersonal conflict with a passion. That's just my personality. People get upset. I tend to like shut down, like, oh no.
What did I do?
And yet you're like expected to be the quote unquote adult in the room to diffuse the situation or handle it. And I don't want to scare people off of GMing because of this one facet. I will say, if you don't want to take this on, you don't have to. You can push it right back onto your players and say, this has to be a group effort to maintain order and or et cetera, et cetera. This can't just be one person being the den mother of the group.
Mm-hmm. I think those are really good things to set and establish in like your session 0. Like just understanding where all of that lies, what we can expect as a group, and when things happen, are we going to talk about it as a group? Is it going to fall onto my shoulders as the DM? Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you want to add to this list of essential DM traits that we've discussed?
The only thing I would add is something you mentioned earlier, as far as like being the assistant. I think that role on its own, the DM definitely has to pick up, because like all of those players, they're not going to know as much as the DM is, and they're going to be looking to you for help. They're going to be looking to you for advice, and yeah, you are there to help them have a good time and assist them in whatever they want to do.
I will be the first to admit, sometimes I'm a little hard on my players when they don't know the rule or don't level their character up between sessions, and it's like, all right, Jesse, just settle down. You've been doing this a lot longer than them, so why don't you be helpful instead of critical? So, I think that's a good overview of what it does mean to be a dungeon master. Any one of those subtopics could become its own thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about each and every one of them.
Oh man, all of them could. There's so many aspects of each, but yeah, as far as an overall picture of what it means to be this person behind the screen, I would say, yeah, we've covered that.
Cool. Well, Jordan, where can people find you? You kind of mentioned some of it already, but
So me, I can be found on Twitter at DM of Chaos C, and we do a stream on Twitter on everything. It's Chaos Conductors. So whether that's Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere, you can find us there.
Very cool.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Real quickly, I can still be found on Twitter at Jess Metcalf. I also have started recently a blog of D&D home rules and other discussion called the Madcap Manual of Modifications. I'll post a link on Twitter so you can find it there. Otherwise, it's madcapmanual.blogspot.com. And I'm also over on Board Game Geek as MadcapCH. But again, Jordan, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to a lot more discussions.
Of course. Until next time.
Until next time. Thanks, everyone.
I want to give special thanks to our Patreon supporters from the entire Our Turn podcast crew. In particular, I want to give a shout out to our patrons Ryan, Drew, Samantha, Diane, and Valerie. Thank you. We couldn't do this show without you. Today for the interview, I am joined by Sara Perry, who has a new project going on called A Seat at the Table, and she is here to tell us all about it today. Sara, welcome to Our Turn.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I am delighted to have you here. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself to start with? Just introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm just a gamer in the industry. I have recently gotten into it, so I haven't been into it quite as long as some other gamers have been. I've been in for about 5 or 6 years, maybe.
Same here.
I really like board games a lot. I dabble in tabletop RPGs sometimes, but it's been kind of a while since I've gotten to play one. My usual gaming group, our schedules haven't been lining up lately.
Oh, I see. You said you work in the industry?
Well, I'm a gamer in the industry, so I do a little bit of like passion unpaid work here and there. Like I'll volunteer at some booths at cons for some of my designer friends, or I write reviews about mobile board games, like mobile ports of board games for Cardboard Republic. And other than that, it's just kind of playing games and having fun.
Excellent. Hey, there are more people doing that than, writing reviews or designing games. So you fit right in. So tell me about A Seat at the Table.
Yeah, so A Seat at the Table is an online magazine. And so the goal of what we're trying to do is really amplify the voices of people and gamers that may not get as much representation as others. So we work with women, people of color, LGBTQ plus, and disabled gamers. And our whole goal is to really provide a space for them to, like a safe space for them to share their experiences as gamers in the industry. So the goal of what we're doing is really to kind of just share those experiences and increase the awareness of the issues that these gamers are facing.
Excellent. And how are you doing that? Are you doing that on a blog or on YouTube? What platforms are you using?
Well, right now we're just an online magazine. So we're working through a newsletter via email through our website. And hopefully, eventually, long-time goals, we'd like to have some print copies available. But since we're just starting out, it's mainly just online through our newsletter.
Excellent. I know that that's one of the things that Our Turn was founded to do was to highlight initially women gamers, but then we realized that there was a need for so much more for people to have voices, from all areas of society, not just women.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so that's what our goal is as well. So when I heard about a seat at the table, I absolutely wanted to get you on. And then we have another project going on called Your Turn, where we're trying to get more people into the hobby just in general to kind of diversify it. So yeah, I absolutely love the idea. So you put out a call on Twitter recently, and I'm sure elsewhere as well, but that's where I saw it, to have people volunteer to help out with the magazine. Are you still recruiting?
So that was when we were looking for our editorial staff to help review the submissions. And we actually just closed the submission process for applications about a week ago. So we've just made kind of the final decision on who our editorial staff is, and we are about to start releasing that information. It's very exciting. We have a lot of really cool people that are involved.
Nice. And so what is your next step after that?
So our next step is really going to be just really focusing down on trying to get submissions. So since the whole goal of a seat at the table is to provide a space for other gamers to share their experiences, the content that we're going to distribute is entirely written by other gamers that aren't us. So it is your regular everyday gamer that might be in your gaming group, that might be sitting down at an RPG table with you. They are completely welcome, and we highly encourage them to write up a description of their experience, and that could be a positive experience where somebody was welcoming and it set a good example and it made them feel really welcome in their gaming space, or it could be more of a negative experience to kind of show what these gamers go through and the experiences that they may be dealing with in these gaming spaces that might not be as welcoming as other people's. And so we are asking that people write up those kinds of experiences and then submit them to us. And then our deadline is April 15th currently. After that deadline, we're going to look at all the submissions that we have, and our editors are going to pick which ones we want to include in the magazine for this first issue. And then we're going to publish from there.
And how often do you foresee coming out with issues?
Since we're just starting out, we're going to go with 2 per year. So our first issue should be coming out around June-ish, and then there should be one in winter around maybe December.
Okay. And now what's the difference between an online magazine and a blog?
So the online magazine aspect of what we're doing, we're going to have a blog section of it too. But what we're trying to do with the magazine is really stylize it. So not only do we want to present it, like just to present it, to share the experiences, but we also want to kind of curate the look some. And the end goal of this is to have it be like a print product that we can distribute. So we're starting off with a kind of PDF newsletter format so that we can kind of get the baseline before we start going into kind of the print product.
I see. Okay. All right. So it's just kind of a different kind of platform.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what's been the most challenging aspect of putting this whole project together?
Well, the most challenging thing so far, and what I imagine is probably going to be the most challenging thing for every issue, is getting enough submissions to fill the issue. So I already talked a little bit about the experience focus section that section is called On Being in the Industry. That's for gamers to share their experiences, their personal experiences. But we also have three other sections actually. We're adding a new one that may or may not be widely released before this comes out. So you might have a little bit of a head on this information. But I think the issue that we're going to face the most is trying to get enough submissions. So we have 4 sections now that we're trying to get submissions for. On Being in the Industry is the one focused on personal experiences. Then we also have On Celebrating Creators. And that section is all about exactly what it sounds like, celebrating the artists and the creators that are already out in the industry that may not be as widely known as they should be. So we don't want to focus entirely on the negative. We also want to really celebrate and lift up the people in our community that are doing really good work.
Now, when you say creators, are you talking about game designers and artists, or are you also talking about content creators?
Oh, all kinds of it. So the section is open to anybody that's creating content of any kind in the gaming industry. So that can be designers that want to share like a little blurb about their game that they have coming out. That can be artists, like you can send us copies of your art and we can put that out there. RPG writers or reviewers that want to send in samples or blurbs about what they're doing. If you run a blog, if you have a YouTube channel, like we can put that information out there. That whole section is about getting the word out about these awesome creators that are already doing stuff so that they can get the attention that they deserve.
Nice. And then what are your other sections?
So the third one is On News and Insights. That one is for opinion pieces and relevant industry news. So if someone in the industry is doing something really, really great regarding inclusivity, or one of the people in our audience is doing something really great, we can write, somebody can submit a news piece about that. Or if there are opinion pieces that somebody wants to submit about maybe how cons can be more inclusive or more welcoming, or things that you can do at your own gaming space to be more welcoming, then they can write that up, and that would be the section that would get published under. And then the 4th section, which is our new section that we're introducing, is called Dear Meeple.
I love it. I don't know what it's about yet, but I love it.
So we not only do we want to have our audience sharing their experiences, but we also want to help participate in that discussion. So Dear Meeple is kind of like an advice column in a newspaper, I guess. That is for people to send in their questions to us, and then our editorial staff will do our best to answer those questions.
Nice. I love it.
So that could be anything from asking about a particular thing that happened in your gaming space or a behavior that somebody has, and maybe asking if that's okay, or trying to ask questions about things that you could do to make your gaming spaces more inclusive, or anything like that. We want it to be kind of a safe space for you to participate in the discussion if you don't necessarily want to share your personal experience, or if you don't have any work that you want to share. We just wanted to create kind of a safe space for somebody to enter into that discussion and ask questions too.
Very, very cool. I love this whole idea. So when are you expecting to put out your first issue?
Our current goal is June.
Okay, and you said submissions close April 15th.
Yes.
All right. So, and where would people submit their stories to you?
So we have a page on our website with all the details on submission. So if you go to our website, which is asattmagazine.com, then there's a page first just named submissions, and that has all the details on like what file types, when the deadline is, where you should send your information, that kind of stuff.
All right, so it's asattmagazine.com?
Yes. Okay. And the specific link for submissions is asattmagazine.com/submissions.
All right, we will have that in our show notes. And you can find that at ourturnpodcast.com/episode 102. And where else, how else can people get a hold of you online?
The best way to get in contact with us online, besides our email, that email is contact@asattmagazine.com. The best way other than that is Twitter. So our Twitter handle is, again, ASATT_magazine. And if you follow us on there, we try to post some content of some people doing some really cool things in the industry. We would love to hear from people on there.
Nice. All right. And like I said, we'll have all that in our show notes. And thank you for coming on and sharing this great new project with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm absolutely delighted to have you. And I'd like to invite you back anytime you've got something to chat about regarding A Seat at the Table.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
All right. Thank you, Sara.
The Dice Tower Network is a proud supporter of the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund. The board gaming community is kind and generous, and this fund was created to provide financial assistance to members of the board gaming community in their time of need. To find out how you can help the fund continue to help others, please visit jackvassell.org/donate. Thank you for your support.
All right, so now we're getting to the part of the episode where we're winding things down and looking ahead. Kathleen, you're going to Iceland.
I'm going to Iceland. I'm going to eat fermented shark. They don't pee on it anymore to break the enzymes down, which is very disappointing, I'll be honest. But
oh, really?
Yeah, but I still get to eat it.
I'm sure they found better ways to break the enzymes down now.
I'm sure. No, I mean, my God, I get to see glaciers and go swimming in the Blue Lagoon and thermal pools and go whale watching, and
it all sounds heavenly.
And if we're lucky, we might be able to see the Northern Lights, which I am so hopeful for. So, yeah, I'm going to Iceland.
Nice.
I mean,
does anything else matter?
I'm going to Iceland. It is, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have been able to travel a lot. And like one of my students today, she said, "You travel a lot." I said, "Yeah, I decided to do that instead of having kids." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense." So, I mean, Iceland was...
They need to remember that.
Yeah, so apex on my bucket list. So not, so this is a dream.
So you're taking students with you,
yeah,
though, right?
Awesome. Oh, I'm so excited. They're really cool kids. I mean, really, we've got some pretty great ones. I teach gifted kids, and I don't know if everybody in the program, everyone who's going on the trip is gifted, but we've got some parents going too. And it's just super fun because we take an educational tour company and they take care of everything, all of the tickets, the planning, the schedule, everything. Literally, as soon as we get those kids off the plane, they kind of take over running everything, and we just get to enjoy it as much as they do. And especially for kids today who how global warming and the changing earth is going to impact them far more greatly than you and I will be able to experience this. Like they and their kids will have the impacts of this. They will have a very concrete kind of experience to anchor their understanding of science and the world. So I'm super excited for them too.
Take one deck dungeon with you.
I will. And I'll bring back
It's a small game. You can play it with 4 people.
Yeah. We have an 8-hour layover in Newark. So when you're talking about being with middle school students for 8 hours in Newark, we're going to need some games. But my boyfriend Mark actually gets to go. So he's totally cool. He'll play games till, the Northern Lights come on. Yeah, what are you excited about?
Well, I was just getting back to your trip here. I was just thinking, okay, 1 deck dungeon and Oaxaca, and do you have Project Dreamscape?
Mm-mm.
And Age of War would be a good one to take with you.
Yeah, I have a lot of Oink games. which I love.
Okay.
So Fake Artist Goes to New York, Deep Sea Adventure. My students love Coup. I even made them start playing Coup Rebellion.
Flux would be a good one.
Yeah. I have a ton.
One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
Yes, I have shelves of like small box games, so it will be very easy to throw a whole bunch of different things in there. So I'm pretty excited.
Cool. All right. This weekend I have a game day at my FLGS,
Yay.
Great Escape Games. And so it's been a while since I've been to one of their game days, and they have flip-flopped their store.
Mm-hmm.
So they used to have this small store and then this great big warehouse type game place, place where they did their Magic tournaments there, and they had a walled off spot for board gamers to go play and role players. And then they had this huge area where they had miniatures tables set up for miniature board game players.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have flip flopped. The store is bigger. It's in the area where the gaming used to be. Mm-hmm. And the gaming is moved into the smaller area. But the nice thing about the smaller area is that it's heated and air conditioned. Mm. And the big space didn't used to be. It is now, but it didn't used to be.
Do they keep their bathrooms clean?
Yeah, they actually do a pretty good job.
For an FLGS.
It's not like, fancy hotel clean. No. But they're clean.
Yeah, that's
they're
good.
Clean.
I sometimes there was one that was here and it was interesting.
Blech. Yeah. No, Great Escape does a good job of keeping their restrooms clean, and they've got 3 of them.
Oh.
So
that's nice too.
Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, there's not often a lot of waiting, so. Mm-hmm. And then I'm doing a lot of work right now on getting the nonprofit that I'm setting up and running. So
what is that?
It's called Your Turn Community Game Events.
Uh-huh.
And we're trying to diversify the Sacramento gaming community some. Mm-hmm. So we're throwing these free public events where people can come and just play board games, and we have a lot of gateway games and family-friendly games, and we're reaching out to women and people of color and people from the LGBTQ community, and anybody who is friendly can come and play games, and it doesn't matter what kind of gamer you are, we'll find something for you.
Nice.
And part of that effort, we got our nonprofit status in November. And then part of that effort, we're trying to put together a series of videos on YouTube where we're going to share a mass market game and then say, well, if you like this mass market game, you're going to love this game over here. So some of the ideas we have are like, if you like Yahtzee, you're going to love King of Tokyo. Wow. If you like Monopoly, you're going to love Power Grid. Another one for Monopoly is Lords of Vegas,
mm-hmm.
And talk about, okay, here's why people love this game and why it's been a staple for decades. And then here's why we think you'll love this game. And I mean, there are about 5,000 new games published every year,
oh, wow.
right?
Yeah.
I had initially heard 1,000, but some friends of mine said, no, it's closer to 5. And nobody hears about them. I mean, unless you're in the gaming hobby, you don't hear about them. You don't know about them until they show up in Target or Walmart, which, that's great that some of them like Pandemic and Forbidden Island. What's that one with code words?
Mm-hmm.
Codenames. And Codenames, it's great that they're in Target and Walmart. That's fantastic. But there's a lot more games besides that, and we want to introduce people to those. Yeah. And just, like I said, try and diversify the hobby a little bit. We did a survey in December of 2017 and found out that 70% of the respondents identified as white male. White guys are great. I enjoy playing games with them, but I would also like to play games with some other people too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we looked at that and said, yeah, that's what we need to work on. So that's what we're doing.
Cool. Well done.
So, yeah. And it's fun because people are starting to get really pumped up about it. The people who are working on it. It's been kind of a long slog getting to the point where we finally got the articles of incorporation and the nonprofit status. So now that paperwork part is done, now is the work to build up the community and get the word out and put on the events and things like that. And so it's kind of an exciting time.
Yeah, and it's such a good cause too. That's such a good idea.
Yeah. And Our Turn is becoming part of that organization as well. So, yeah. Cool. So we might have some more news about that going forward. So
onward and upward.
Yeah. Cool. All right. How can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you online?
I share all of my game design teaching resources for free at kathleenmercury.com. You can email me there through the site. In addition, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Mercury with 7 M's, so at Mercury. And I'm always happy to help people with any kind of teaching game ideas that they have. I'm happy to do any of that. So I'm on BGG as Funk Donut, one word, because I love donuts. And yeah, I'm always happy to talk with people.
Nice. And then you can reach me. I am on Twitter as at Our Turn Podcast. I'm also trying to do some more with my own Twitter account, which is at Cathy's Brain, and that's Cathy with a C. And Sarah Reed runs our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Our Turn Podcast. And then we have our guild on Board Game Geek, which is guild number 2600, and I am the guild master there. Cool. So come on in, check us out, and join the conversation. All right. Until next time, and on behalf of the entire Our Turn Podcast crew, that was our turn.
And now it is yours.
Thank you for listening. This episode was recorded on February 26, 2019, and is written and produced by Cathy Ford and Kathleen Mercury with assistance from Jesse Metcalf, Jordan Marshall, Sara Perry, and Mark Ford. We want and encourage your questions, comments, and feedback. Please call 916-426-2873 and leave us a short voicemail or send an email to feedback@ourturnpodcast.com. Our theme music was composed by Adriana Crickle. Incidental music was provided by Purple Planet Music. Please check out our show notes to learn more about these talented artists. The material in this episode is copyrighted under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. If you want to learn more about the games discussed in this episode, please visit our website at ourturnpodcast.com/episode 102. You can find a list of the games along with links to their listing on BoardGameGeek.com. We are proud members of the Dice Tower Network. You can find out about other shows in the network like The Dukes of Dice, Board Games Insider, or Four Corners of the Board by going to dicetowernetwork.com. Thank you for your support. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends about us.